Let's talk about this team because I don't think with the manager change, don't get Jesse started because he's been very, very mean-spirited toward the former manager, Craig Counsell, so don't get him started on that. With the manager change, with trading away Corbin Burns, with the injuries that this team has dealt with, you could easily think these guys are in trouble. And they're the exact opposite. I know they lost last night in extra innings, but what has it been like, and has this been, of those 30 years that you've been in the booth, has this been one of the more, I didn't necessarily see all these good things coming type of seasons for you?
Exactly. I mean, I don't think anybody saw this coming, particularly with all the injuries to the starting rotation. They had, they had the opener yesterday. The Brewers have used 15 different starting pitchers this year. And you would think that, a team that is doing that is really scuffling and, they're maybe trying to get to 500. But this is a team that's 15 games over 500 and doing a great job. I mean, the bullpen has been fabulous. But, here's the thing. In the off season, you have the managerial change, and Murphy certainly deserves that opportunity. He was a good ambassador with Craig Counsell for many years. I mean, and you wonder who was teaching who all those years based on how Murph's been doing it. I mean, he's been fantastic, and the guys love him. I mean, they have an edge to them, and they're not going to take anything from anybody. And they'll get their chin right in there. And I've never been one to say that teams ever give up in a game, but they don't. They battle hard right to the end. And it's been a lot of fun to watch. So, in the off season, you had the managerial change, all that emotion with Counsell going to the Cubs. But you also had a team filled with young kids that have no real experience in the big leagues. And because of that, nobody knew what they were going to be and how they were going to play and how they were going to respond to, big league environment. But, it took them a while. But, these guys have been fantastic. So the young players are the reason why the Brewers are where they're at. The Perkins, Churio is really starting to come into his own. He has been unbelievable since the beginning of June and swinging the bat and really aggressive. And, Frelick and, Joey Ortiz and Bryce Terang. I mean, how about Bryce Terang, the way he's been able to make, the transition from a really good defender to a guy that really wasn't much of a hitter last year to a force in the lineup at the plate. He got 2 grand slams this year, right? I mean, so it's been a lot of fun to watch, and I think nobody really knew what the Brewers were going to be able to do because of all the young players that they had and they were going to be counting on. That's a wild card. You just don't know. Tausch, you know it in football, too. You get a lot of rookies out there. You don't know what you have, and you just hope they're going to be able to perform, and when they do perform, that's when you're real surprised and things are going well.
Yeah, you just mentioned that, and that was why I think last season, the Packers season, was so fun to watch because you didn't know. This Brewers team, obviously, with all of its youth, the same thing. Bill, have you ever seen what I think before last night's game, 5 of the last 8 games had a grand slam. Is there, in your 30 years of doing this, have you ever seen anything like that?
No, never. I mean, 5 grand slams in 8 games, and Terang started it, and then he hit one the other day, and they're all big. I mean, that grand slam that Terang hit just put that game out of reach, and kind of took the Cubs right out of the game. It seems as though after that grand slam was was it 6-1, 7-1 at that point? It just looked like that game was over at that point, and Cubs seemed to have their head down, but. It's something else. I mean, all these grand slams and all these 2-out hits and all these 2-strike approaches and walks, and it's been a team that is a lot of fun to watch, and you never know what you're going to see from them. I mean, they could be no hit for like 5 innings, and then all of a sudden the bullpen, the opposition's bullpen gets into the game, and then they start swinging the bat. So. Never out of it. They're always learning. Pat Murphy, and I'll tell you, Ricky Weeks has a lot to do with what's going on here too. He had an edge to him when he played. I mean, a good edge. I'm talking about the guy was tough as nails, wanted to play every day. All these coaches have been doing a great job. Chris Hook, he never gets enough credit. I mean, all the guys that they bring in. You're not talking about household names in that bullpen and in the starting rotation, but Chris Hook and Jim Henderson, they get their hands on these guys, and all of a sudden they become performers in the big leagues. So, it's been a lot of fun to watch.
All right, Bill, two more things before we let you get back to your Door County excursion. One, I want to ask you about William Contreras. We've seen lots of terrific catchers come through the Brewers for years, right? Jonathan Lucroy, Ted Simmons, David Nilsson, this Bill Schroeder guy, Charlie O'Brien. I'm curious. I mean, he's a stud, right? And what is it for you as an old catcher when you watch him? What do you think of him as a player?
Well, I mean, he's a gamer. He and Adames, they want to play every day. Adames he hasn't missed a game yet. He started every game, Adames. But, William Contreras has improved more than any single guy that I've seen in the big leagues in such a short period of time defensively behind home plate. He takes it very seriously. He likes working with these guys, and all the guys that he has had to deal with behind home plate. I'm talking about, pitchers, different pitchers, trying to learn them. I mean, it's not just the physical part of what he does, but the mental part. There's a lot of studying and a lot of pregame prep that goes on, and he's willing to do it. And, he's, the way he throws the baseball, the way he tries to back pick at first base, that's one of the reasons why you don't see a lot of stolen bases. These guys aren't getting too big a secondary lead because they know they might get picked off. Mm-hmm. So, he's got a terrific arm. And, he plays so much behind home plate these days. There was a point in time, the month of June wasn't all that great for him. But yesterday was a big day for him, right? 3 hits, a home run. Adames didn't get a hit on the homestand, and he had a big day yesterday. So they're gamers, and there's no better thing that a player can be known as. And Tausch, you can vouch for this. I mean, being a gamer, a guy that's going to go out there no matter what. He's going to give his all. He doesn't want to take days off, and that's what every player wants to be known as when it's all said and done.
You are right about that, Bill. And before you go, you're not out shopping and doing that. What's a Door County weekend for Bill?
Well,
such a gamer with all your time off up in Door County.
yeah, I like to fish. I'm going salmon fishing on Wednesday out in Lake Michigan, and one of my neighbors, we're going smallmouth bass fishing on Green Bay on Friday. Play a little bit of golf. I don't go in and out of the candle and fudge shops too often, but when my wife wants to go in there, I stand outside on the street and let her do her thing.
All right.
Invariably, I'm gonna bump into something and have to pay for something I don't want.
Yeah, stores pack things in there pretty tight. That's for sure.
All right. Well, we will let you get back to your fudge shops and candle shops after one last question. And Tausch gives me a hard time about this because he always calls me the Oprah of this show. But I have to admit, you've been a good friend to us. You know that I have a tremendous affinity for you. But I have to admit, as I watched the celebration of your 30 years in the booth, that I did find myself thinking back to 2020 and when you informed us that you were basically a ticking time bomb with your aorta. And it got me thinking about how we might have missed out on not only a good friend who has been so great to us, but seeing that moment that day. Again, maybe that's just me, but that's how I found myself thinking. And I'm just curious, in the years that have followed, in any way, are you different because of that experience? Because you were such a great guy even before that, and I just found myself wondering if that experience, what kind of impact it had on you.
Well, I had so many people to thank for that. Number one, my wife. I mean, she was fantastic through the whole process. And, the doctors, Dr. Clutchka, the cardiologist, and Paul Pearson, the heart surgeon, and, all the nurses and the rehab people. And there's so many people involved in me getting through that. And I feel like right now I'm playing with house money. Had that not been discovered, from Dr. Young, Brewer's physician, I went in for a physical and a prostate exam, and he checked my heart and he said, "We need to get you over to cardiologist like today." So they rushed me over there, and a week later I was I was having full-blown open heart surgery, and that was a process. So the bottom line is I don't sweat the small stuff too much these days. I kind of enjoy, even when I hit a really bad shot in golf, I don't get too upset about it because the alternative is never doing it again. So I think you just enjoy things a little bit more once you go through, a near-death experience like that. And they said that had it's not been caught, and I would have, went on to my business, I'd probably be gone by now. So I have a lot of people to thank for that, and I appreciate all the kind words. I have lived a charmed life with this organization for 30 years. I loved every minute of it, and I can't imagine, not going to the ballpark when these guys are home at American Family Field. It's been fantastic.
Well, we are so lucky to call you our friend. And, hey, this is another one of those great benefits of surviving that episode. You get to talk to us. What a wonderful blessing that must be.
And by the way, we'll get you to fantasy camp. I know Tausch was there. He had a good time. So.
Yeah.
All right, Rock, you're the absolute best. We love you, buddy. Thanks for making time for us.